Rebic, Rafa, tira, gol! Rafael Leao! Oggi segna Leo! La mia giornata è iniziata così!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrud.
What's up, guys? Glad to be back. We don't have Madison, we don't have Gian, we don't have Stefano. It's just us.
It is. It's just us two and Chucky in the background there. I've just seen him walk past. Bless him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Maddie's in Jamaica. Hope he's having a fantastic time. And everybody else is doing whatever they're doing. But it's an international break anyway, so things have been a little bit quiet recently. It would be fair to say, apart from a couple of players who've been on duty from Milan. But yeah, we've got a bit of that to talk about, and then the Hellas Verona game to preview, which comes this Saturday. And then it'll be a bit of a question special, which is always good to do because we don't always get through all of them when we do a normal episode. But I guess the first thing that we should talk about, because when there are international breaks, we're often guilty of not talking about how the players actually get on with their respective countries. But we're not really left with much of a choice this time because Theo Hernandez has probably managed to establish himself as a full France international over this recent break. He made his second and third appearances in the UEFA Nations League semi-final and final. I know people have varying opinions on whether this is a competition that matters or not, but they seemed pretty hyped to be winning it, and I suppose there was still a trophy to be won. But the main thing is that he scored a 93rd minute winner in the semi-final to take them through to the final, and he supplied the winning assist to Kylian Mbappe, so he was directly responsible for them lifting that trophy. He's been playing as a left wing back in a 3-4-1-2, which was quite an interesting thing. Deschamps said that he sees him better there because he needs to work on his defensive abilities. Bit of a dig, perhaps. I don't know what you think about that, but still, I'm happy to see him thriving.
Yeah, I'd say that's actually the same criticism we've had of him since his tenure in Milan. We've always thought he's a lot more attacking minded, and his defense is where he lacks. So yeah, I agree with that assessment entirely. I didn't watch any of the games. So I don't know. I know there was a little bit of controversy about the Mbappe goal. Like it looked like he was offside or something like that. And the picture I saw, he looked offside, but clearly they said it wasn't. So there was something I'm missing in that, which, I mean, whatever. No, it doesn't matter to me. But happy for him. He's been doing his little call me celebration for 2-3 seasons now. So it's about time that he got that call, and he proved he deserves it. So I'm happy for him.
Absolutely. The offside goal, I was absolutely shouting at the TV saying he's offside there. You could see it. How come they didn't look at VAR? Apparently what was determined, and this is the rule now, is that if a defender makes a deliberate attempt to play the ball and it comes off them, so it deflected off the Spain defender, I believe it was Eric Garcia, and then went in behind for Mbappe. So that was counted as a second phase of play, and that's why, even though he was offside, he wasn't offside, if you know what I mean. That rule needs changing, because the defender's always going to try and play a ball, and ultimately they're punished for it.
Not a fair rule.
Really, and then it's subjective, when have they tried to play a ball and when has it just hit them? I think they need to bin that off. If they're offside, they're offside. But yeah, that's discussion probably for another day. But I'm chuffed to bits to see Theo doing well. As you say, he's been knocking on the door for a call-up for a long time now. Perhaps he's been a little bit unlucky as well because Deschamps has had his favourites. He's liked playing Luca Digne, and I don't know why. I mean, he has been in good form for Everton, perhaps over the last couple of seasons. But Theo has, since switching allegiance to wanting to play for the senior national team, I think it's fair to say over the best 18 months, he has been the best French left-back. And now they're playing a system that suits him because he can play as a wing-back. And we've seen how decisive he can be in the final third. We've seen that for Milan, and I think that's why Deschamps finally decided to take a chance on him, and he hasn't let him down. I think you look at him, and then you look at Fikayo Tomori, who's back in the England squad after 2 years away. When he was at Chelsea was when he got his original call-up in 2019. He's back in and he got 30 minutes against Andorra. And England play Hungary tomorrow at Wembley. And I'm going to that and I'm hoping he's going to start that game. So I'll be looking forward to watching him in the flesh. But I think that there's sort of Leao got a senior call-up for Portugal as well. I think there's a bigger message to take from all of this. And Jan actually tweeted something similar on it. It's perhaps a sign for these players that they can achieve everything that they want to achieve while they're playing at Milan. So let's say before, Theo might have had an inkling of doubt that he was being held back from his international ambitions because he hadn't played Champions League football until this point. Perhaps others were thinking, Tomori especially, Southgate has his thing for picking defenders who are playing and they're in form in the Premier League. So he might have been thinking, do I need to move back to England to get into the national team? But Salamakers is now starting for Belgium. Not that I think he'd be pushing for a big move anywhere else, but the signs are positive. I think that finally we've got a squad of players who are being recognised for exactly what they're doing at club level. And I think that can only improve the strength of the core players moving forward. And I guess the only one who's the exception is Giroud. He's gone from being on the bench at Chelsea to now being, actually when he gets back fully fit, he'll be a key player for us moving forward. But perhaps has dropped out now, being 35 years old, and with Deschamps preferring some younger players.
And that has to do with Benzema as well. Once Benzema finally got added back to the fold, then Giroud was dropped because Giroud was getting called up. He was always a bench player. Not always, but he had been a bench player recently, so he just fell out of the pecking order, which is fine. 35 years old, like you've won the World Cup, you've won everything there is to win. I don't think he's won a Euro. Maybe he hasn't won a Euro, has he?
Giroud, no, World Cup.
Yeah, just the World Cup, which, that's the bigger trophy anyways. That's the one people want. So I think his international aspirations, I guess, they've been achieved. So he doesn't need them. Yeah. So I think he's fine with that. And like you said, he's getting hurt. He's old. So it's almost best if he doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there was I think probably a sigh of relief when players like Rebic and Giroud and Ibra was called up, but obviously didn't report. Those players were allowed to stay at Milanello and just sort of recovered over this international break, because that's the thing, is that we had the 2-week break and then we've got a trio of fixtures coming up within 8 days as soon as we resume on Saturday. So it's straight back into it. But yeah, from international point of view, those were the performances I think worth highlighting. As I said, there's some internationals tomorrow, some World Cup qualifiers and whatnot. So we hope that the lads who are representing us do well. Kjær, scored a penalty. Should mention that. Denmark have been incredible. They've won all of their World Cup qualifying group games without conceding a goal, which
really impressive.
It's a testament to just how good he's been. And we should mention at this point, while his name's come up, that he made the 30-man Ballon d'Or shortlist. Might be, I don't know, I don't want to be cynical, but I think it might be half playing point of view, half of it because of his heroic actions, obviously out there on the field in the European Championships, when he helped to save Christian Eriksen's life and he rallied the team around him and he took them to a semi-final. He did. He was the captain of a team that went to the semi-final against all the odds. And he has been playing at a very high level for Milan when we've had him fit. So, you could argue he's earned his place on form over the last 18 months.
I would say, it probably is more the heroics, but when you look at the Ballon d'Or list, everyone has their, usually 2 or 3 players. So it's usually, is it going to be Messi or is it going to be Ronaldo this year, And as we've gotten towards the end of their careers, we've seen that list expand. Now it's Robert Lewandowski, it's Modric, Mbappe now. Yeah, there's more names in the fold. So you have this 5 to 10 maybe person shortlist that each person just kind of casually has, No one's really making this 30-man list thinking all these guys have a fair chance, And I don't think anyone really expects him to get into the top 10 or top 5 for the picks. So, if people are upset about it, then it's really not a big deal. They don't need to be upset. It's just something kind of a little thank you, I guess, to him. And statistically, if you look at it, he's done really well as far as defenders go across the league. So, it's not that far-fetched to say he definitely has been up there performance-wise, but I don't think anyone expects him to win it, and I don't think he does either. I don't think that's a goal. If it is, it's not a realistic one. So, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, it's a nice token acknowledgement, though, isn't it? I suppose.
Exactly.
And it's another sort of badge of honour for him as well. And I think the thing that will probably mean more to him is getting the UEFA Fair Play Award. That is actually a thing that he certainly warrants, absolutely. But it's yeah, it's just another good thing for Milan as well. Having a player in there, and some people pointed out, and we'll talk about this after actually, but some people pointed out as well that Donnarumma is in there on the strength of his Milan performances, so you can have him as a half candidate, but obviously he's not with us anymore, and it is what it is. And he won the Euros with Italy, but I tend to agree with you in saying that it doesn't need to be a 30-man shortlist at all. They could probably name 10 and make it more interesting and more of a level playing field, but it is what it is, and well done to Simon. Donnarumma came back to Milan. I don't think we could have expected him to have the red carpet rolled out in front of him, but be fair to say that the reaction that he got, the reception, has caused a bit of a stir.
Yeah, and listen, I've made it very clear I'm not the biggest fan of international football. I didn't watch a single international game this break. In fact, I use this whole break as like a mental
detox.
Exactly. I just check out. It's great. I'm less active on Twitter, and you just enjoy living life. But you can't avoid this Donnarumma stuff. I've definitely read a lot about it. I'm in two veins about it, because to me it's like, yeah, you can't expect a happy welcome, but then again, it's not a Milan game, but it's his very first time back in Milan, so it'd be weirder if something didn't happen. Because you expect local fans, obviously they're international fans, but the majority of them are going to be local to Milan. I mean, it's in the city, so a lot of them are going to be AC Milan, a lot are going to be Inter. Those ones probably didn't care so much, but it's going to happen. I don't think you should want him to concede, because you're still at the end of the day, you're still in a competition looking for a trophy for your nation. So you definitely don't want to cheer when he concedes. For me, boo his name when he gets caught in the tunnel, or go completely silent. Cheer for everyone as loud as possible. When they read out Donnarumma's name, go silent. It's because he's making these comments like, I can't wait to be back. I love Milan, blah, blah, blah. Just ignore him. Pretend he doesn't exist.
It's antagonizing, isn't it?
And what I tell everyone, because I don't know if you guys read my timeline or not, but I don't engage in a lot of the bullshit you see on Twitter. And that's always been my thing, is like, when people are trolling you or they're talking shit or whatever, like, if you just don't acknowledge them, don't give them any time of the day, it's going to mess with them more than if you fight back, because that's what they want. They want the reaction. So just ignore it. Like that's always been it for me, and I tend to stay happy. So I don't know.
It's interesting because I can remember some similar kind of disputes between ex-players coming back and what kind of a reaction they're going to get when they return. But this one seems to have been played out entirely in the media for me. Donnarumma did that interview that was either naive or it was deliberately provocative, where he said that he will always feel loved in Milan and he's got no problems with Maldini. And I think he either did that to try and calm things down, knowing that something was going to happen, or he did it to try and wind them up a bit, knowing it was going to happen anyway.
I think he definitely knew something was going to happen, and I think it was to calm it down, because realistically, I don't think there is a problem between him and the club or him and Maldini. Not. The issue is between him and the fans, and that's how it always is in football. Football is a business, but to fans, it's more than that. So to the management, to him, it was like, look, this is my job. I want to get paid as much as I can. I can go here and get triple, and it's a shitty way he went about it, but there's nothing illegal. It's like you can't. No, I don't know. I've always viewed the ultras as kind of petulant children, and that they continue to show that. Again, I'm not going to tell someone how to handle their grief, because we're all hurt from the saga. Let's not pretend like we're not, but I think we got a great replacement, and the appropriate response to me is to put all that negative energy and bad feelings we have towards Gigio into support for Maignan. Cheer him on. He's been fantastic. He deserves the support. He doesn't need to be living in Gigio's shadow. We should raise him up and above it. He's his own player, and he's doing a lot, and he's playing in the Champions League for us, something Donnarumma never did. So yes, we owe Gigio a lot. He obviously was pivotal in getting us there, but his chapter in our book's over. We don't need to keep reading it. Let's move on to the next one. So I don't know. That's true. I think it's water under the bridge to me. But
I think it is now. I think that will be it, because as you said, who are we to tell those fans who go week in, week out to San Siro and they follow Milan up and down the country? We can't really tell them how they should feel about a player leaving. Just as I wouldn't expect anyone to tell us how to feel about a player leaving. You can look at the good and the bad side of Donnarumma leaving. But there is clearly still a lot of hurt and a lot of anger. And I think that they saw this as the opportunity to get it all out. And it's interesting, and perhaps it's just unfortunate in a way that it was an Italy game that it had to happen, because he'd given a lot of Italy fans who will also be Milan fans a lot of joy over the summer. His heroics in that penalty shootout ultimately won them that trophy. But I think it's also another big indication that for certainly a vocal minority of fans, club will come over country. And I think there is that sort of phenomenon here in England. But in Italy, it sort of goes to another level. Here's someone who's coming back for a sort of homecoming, and the way they left a club side in the summer, rather than the fact they won a trophy with that country, has overshadowed that, and that's what happened. It perhaps spilled over, but not as badly as it has. Because I remember when he was playing out in Poland that time, and Milan Club Polonia threw dollars at him, and there was the Donnarumma banner and stuff, and that's more targeted than a few jeers to me. That's actually something that's sort of physically impacting him in a way, because it was all around the area and stuff.
And that to me is also another reason why we shouldn't even have had this reaction. It's not like we didn't see this coming. We've seen how this saga was going to end for the last 4 years. It's just each year we get to harass this kid until he caves and says, I'm sorry. And then he finally does what he's been trying to do for 5 years that he wanted to do. And he's the bad guy. I don't know. I just think it's all silly. It's not my place to tell someone else how they're supposed to grieve, but I'm allowed to have an opinion, and I think I got it the wrong way. But like I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I wish it was Milan versus PSG. That would have been great. I do want to see that game still, because that's how I want to get my one over him. I'm upset. I'm very upset about it, but I want to play him and win and show him look, you made the wrong choice. But I don't root for Italy. I don't care one way or another. But I think it is really shitty for the fans of Italy that have no bone, no dog in the fight. Fans of, sorry, there's a fly in here. But the Juve fans, the Napoli fans, the Inter fans, all the fans of other clubs that support Italy now have to take the brunt of this Donnarumma saga as well. And it's like I care about them, but it is unfair, that because it does affect the game. It affected his performance, and at the end of the day, they lost the game, not because of it. Bonucci got a red card, and there's some other shit as well, but it played its part. So, I think it's just it affected more than just the player in that moment. And I think just because it was national team level, it probably wasn't the right time. But you can't expect him to come back for his first time ever and get nothing. So it is what it is.
That's true. Those fans who were angry enough to boo him, no matter when, we're not going to, hold back just because. Exactly. It was just one of those circumstances. It happened the way it did. The one thing that I found was interesting was the mixed response to the fact that it was reported, and I do believe this. I mean, there's no reason not to. That he got back to the dressing room at halftime and broke down into tears. Now, we've heard this before about Donnarumma, crying in the dressing room, when I think he is quite an emotional kid in that sense. Say kid, he's 22. He is quite an emotional person in that sense, and things like that do get to him. And that makes me lean more towards when he gave that interview, he was just trying to calm the flames a little bit and reduce any. But then the flip side to that is that he wanted to be the big man and to make the decisions independently based on the best thing for his career financially and from a sporting point of view. And then when he has to face up to the consequences of that, the people that he's pissed off, the club that raised him and he left on not brilliant terms, let's be honest, he can't handle it. So I think he's torn somewhere still between being a kid and trying to be an adult. But, character and introspection aside, it's should be done.
But at 22 years old, I mean, I remember when I was 22, I was also torn from being a kid and being an adult. You are an adult, but you're still very young.
It's adolescence, isn't it? It's
exactly. You just you're like you're like kid plus. You're a little bit more than a kid, but you're definitely not. No one expects you to be this high functioning member of society at 22. And when we were harassing him when he was 18 or 17 or whenever it was with the Donnarumma thing, I was pissed at that. I was mad that we did that, because he was a kid then. Now he's an adult, and so it's kind of like, take your lashes, but it's still not. I don't know. You can't, like, you broke the man. You broke him.
You've done it already. Yeah.
Like,
the thing with 2017 was that the actions had direct consequences for his future at the club, because when it happened, I thought, what are you doing? You're pushing him out. Like, by doing all
I thought
this.
too. I thought he was going to leave.
Yeah, and I thought,
clearly
you're
they
giving him
intimidated.
no reason to stay, because you're telling him he's burned his bridges and this is what we think of you now. And then he stayed and he became a fan favourite again. But I think it goes to show that the anger never really subsided for certain sections of the fan base. And
I think because that abuse was successful in getting him to stay, they thought that they could continue to intimidate him into doing what they want each time. And, eventually you're going to leave. You're not going to want to put up with that. And the other thing is, you look at how much money is he making at PSG now? Is it 10 million a season?
Yeah, nobody knows. It's 10 or 12. It's somewhere around there.
No goalkeeper in the world's making that. Not at 22. And you could say, like, oh, he's young. He's got plenty of time in his career. We don't know that. He could have a altering injury at any point in his career. Take your money while you can. There's no health insurance in sports. You don't get a 401k to invest at the end of your career. Like, there's not a retirement plan. Take what you can. And if you could get 10 million at 22 years old to sit on the bench and preserve your health for the next 5 years, do it. Every person listening to this podcast right now would take a $10 million job over the $6 million job, the $8 million job. If you're given both, like, it's easy for us to say here as, like, not millionaires. I'd go to the team that I love, but he was at the team he loved from 16 to 22, and he accomplished what they wanted to accomplish: get back in the Champions League. That was his goal. Move on.
He knew as well that he was moving to there is definitely a sporting element to this, and he's gone from sharing a dressing room with the people that he's known, obviously, for over half a decade now, to there's Neymar, Mbappe, Messi there in front of you. That is a big difference. It's going to a direct challenger for the Champions League, and he's gone to win trophies, and I understand that aspect of the decision, but I really hope that's it.
Well, that's another thing, because
come back with
we're
PSG,
not winning.
Obviously.
We're not winning the Champions League this season. We'd be
not
crazy to think. Well, yeah, but I mean, just realistically, like, nobody thinks we're doing it. And you look at our first 2 games in the Champions League, great games, great performances. 0 points. I don't know where PSG's sitting, but I think
PSG beat Man City 2-0, and Donnarumma started and kept a clean sheet against, arguably the best club side in England at the moment.
So there you go. Are we bitter because he made the right decision, or
I suppose there's time until we can make a call on that. But also, it's worth noting that he's gone and taken on a challenge, because Keylor Navas is a fantastic goalkeeper. I know he's old, and like the natural handover will take place at some point, but it's not like he's going and walking into a team.
And he's never, I mean, yes, Euro, but at the time of making the move, he never won a trophy in his career. Was he on the Super Cup team?
Yeah,
or was that Diego Lopez? Okay.
Yeah,
he won that, but I think the attitude in Italy is that it's not a real cup or anything.
So it's like a second-tier trophy.
Yeah, kind of like the Nations League, but
agreed.
Whatever.
Yeah. Say that because England didn't get there.
Yeah, no. This summer it was the most important trophy in the world because USA won it. This week I didn't care at all because
and then my country last night you lost to Panama. So
did we?
Yeah, that messed up Jan's bet. Right, so Hellas Verona preview. Interesting team, Hellas Verona, because obviously they had a manager last season who I think most people would agree were he had them overachieving a little bit. Ivan Juric, he managed to get them into the top half of the table, which for Verona, who've been a bit of a yo-yo Serie A, Serie B club for a while now, that was pretty good for them. And some stars emerged from there. Antonin Barak, Zaccagni, who has since left, Matteo Lovato, who's also left. There was some players there that were worth keeping an eye on. This season it started really badly. And it's since picked up. So just to go through a couple of their notable results. They lost their first 3 games of the season, played Sassuolo, Inter and Bologna, and they haven't lost since then. They beat Roma, drew with Salernitana, drew with Genoa, and then beat Spezia 4-0 in the last round, which I think, if anything else, it just shows how right we were about Spezia. They are all over
really
the place at the moment. They're already talking about sacking Thiago Motta, which is
no surprise.
It's great.
Honestly, they have more points than I thought they would at this point in the season.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're not dead and buried, are they?
Yeah. How many points do they have? I don't even know. If it's 1 point, it's more than I thought they'd have.
Hold on, let me quickly.
I think they might be on like 2 or 4.
No, I mean they've got 4 points from 7 games and they're second bottom. They're in a battle.
Yeah.
They're in a real battle. But the general feeling has to be for this game that, from our point of view, it's a winnable one. You know.
Yeah.
I said that about Hellas Verona, how they've had a bit of a resurgence. If we are a serious Scudetto contender, we can't afford to drop points in a game like this. And we have dropped points against Hellas Verona at home in recent years. I remember losing 1-0 at home to them, then we drew with them 2-2. That was when we had that comeback during the lockdown times. But yeah, I think our injury situation is getting better. Just as an update on that, Giroud should be back fully for that game. Ibrahimovic should be back, but will probably start on the bench. Bakayoko and Krunic are probably not going to be back. But then the downside is that, just as it looked like Brahim Diaz was going to get a chance to kind of manage his minutes, Messias has gone down for what I'm presuming is going to be 3 or 4 weeks. He's not got a scan for another 10 days. So that's a kick in the balls, because we just got him up to full fitness, and he had a promising performance against Atalanta, 2 debatable incidents aside. And yeah, it's a bummer more so because I'm worried about Brahim burning out at some point. But, and then as if we thought we might be able to play Brahim for 60 minutes and bring Daniel Maldini off the bench for the last half an hour or whatever, that's out the window because Daniel Maldini has left Italy's under-20 team with some kind of adductor problems. So he's probably looking at a few weeks out as well. So we just don't have anyone that can fill in that number 10 role unless we adapt Leao again, or we play Rebic there, or we switch to 2 up front maybe, which isn't beyond the realms of possibility, or unless Brahim Diaz fancies playing 3 games a week. Is what it is.
Do we have Champions League next week or no?
We do. Yeah, we've got Porto. Porto away. But obviously we'll preview that next week. So yeah. Hellas Verona, just looking at their top scorers, a man that you may remember, Nikola Kalinic, currently leads the way with 3.
How could I forget?
Davide Faraone, who I actually quite like. I think he's been a good fullback for a while now. I remember him when he went over to Watford and he looked pretty good. He played at Inter before as well. But he's got a couple of goals as well, so I need to watch out for him. Anthony Barak, we were linked with over the summer as a playmaker option, Czech international. He's got 2 goals. Caprari, who was at Sampdoria, has got a couple of goals. It's Matteo Zaccagni managed to get a couple until and then he managed to get a move to Lazio before the end of the summer window. But Farione is out, actually, I believe, injured. I've just remembered that. And Ivan Ilic, who they signed from Man City in the summer, is also out injured, and he's been one of their better players so far this season. So, yeah, long way around of saying that I'm feeling pretty confident that if we don't have any Venezia-style shenanigans where we don't manage to break the deadlock for like 65 minutes and things start to get a little bit more nervous and tense, I don't think we'll have many problems. An early goal would really dampen any nerves of dropping points in this one. And I'm going to say that we'll win this 3-1.
I'm going to keep it with the same amount of goals. I'm going to say 4-0.
Whoa.
Yeah. Nice. Well, my thought process is Giroud and Zlatan back. I don't think either of them are going to play a whole lot, but I think Leao's still in hot form. I think Diaz is in hot form. Theo's going to be amped on lifting a trophy, so he might be good. Mignon technically lifted that trophy as well. I don't think he played a minute, but good for him. So yeah, I think it's going to be light work. I don't think this will be hard. Routine stuff. If we can't break the deadlock in the first half, then there might be issues. But if we get an early one, which we tend to push for now, I think it's just going to be floodgates.
No, I really hope you're right on that one, because it felt like with the Atalanta performance, as we talked about at the time, it was not a 3-2 game at all. If anything, it could have been a 4 or 5-0 in our favour if we hadn't have had the decisions go against us at the end there. So there is still that feeling, especially after the Cagliari home game, that we can really put a team to the sword that's sort of that mid-table level. If we can get goals on the board early and really get their backs against the wall, because game plans for teams like that, it's not going to be open and expansive, is it? They're going to come and try and frustrate us. And if we break down, any attempts at their frustration early on, then, as you say, I think the floodgates could open. Questions. Let's do some questions then. I've got a
quickest preview we have ever done.
Might be. Yeah, it might be. That's the thing, though, is that there's a week. Well, not a week. There's 5-6 days until the game, and there's still a few unknowns in terms of injuries and stuff. But hopefully, it's pretty straightforward. Heinrich Lunga asks, should we go for Belotti or Vlahovic at the end of the season? Now, as a precursor to this, we've been linked with both. Dusan Vlahovic has basically declared that he wants to leave Fiorentina. He will not sign a renewal with them. His contract runs until 2023, but they'll probably sell in January or next summer to get the most out of him that they can. He won't leave there for nothing. And then Andrea Belotti also won't sign a renewal with Torino, but his deal runs out next summer, so he'd be available on a free transfer. Obviously, one's 21 and is wanted by a lot of the top clubs in Europe. The other's a boyhood Milan fan, has got a few more years, but would come for free and therefore probably 50-60 million less of an investment. Who are you going with, or neither the answer? Or both?
That's my answer.
There we go. Both.
And I have slated Belotti for, I don't know what episode. This is episode 173, so I've been doing it for 173 weeks. I've never said a positive thing about him. But that said, as a free transfer, yeah, why wouldn't we? He's always going to give his all for the club. I think even last season, which at Torino was abysmal, he still had double-digit goals and 3 assists, maybe even more. I can't remember. It was 3 or 6 or in that area. But he's always put in double digits. He's never recreated that season. I think the 16-17 season where he put up 25 goals.
26, yeah.
26. And the fact that we offered 70 million plus Niang for him and it got denied or turned down, and now we could get him for free because I don't know. That's poetic.
2 fingers up to Cairo, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm all about that. And you look at Pellegrini, we're not keeping him. We're just not going to it. I mean, it's early in the season. Unless something miraculous happens, I don't see him staying. Zlatan, very likely to retire at the end of the season, especially if he continues to get hurt after every performance. We'll see after Hellas, he might be out again. Who knows? We'll be down 2 strikers. We'll have 35-year-old Giroud left, who's also unreliable. So we could get a free Belotti and then splash our cash if we get Champions League again on a star player in Vlahovic. And we don't even need to play them both. We could rotate, and that's incredible rotation. Yeah, Belotti want to get maybe 6 to 7 goals in that formula, but that's 2 proven goal scorers that know the league, that want to be at the club, that admitted to wanting to be at the club. I think that's the right move, 100%. And it fits the narrative of a youth project, getting rid of the 40-year-old striker and getting two 20-somethings. So
it makes our attack, I think, more reliable. Definitely.
And that's been our weakest spot. That's been our weakest spot right now, even though we have Zlatan, a generational talent up top. He is 40 years old. So bringing in a 28-year-old in Belotti, I believe is his age now.
27, but it'll be 27 joins.
That's literally almost half the age. That's cutting our age in half. So you want to talk about a youth project? There it is. Yeah, 27 is not what you typically think of when you say youth product, but compared to what we have
years
now.
Of prime left, you're looking at 4 or 5 years still. The thing with Belotti as well is, and there are a lot of people who are vocally against it, saying that it would show no ambition when there are strikers like Vlahovic out there to go and get. I don't think it's an either-or thing. I think it's very clear that we know we're going to need 2 strikers at some point in the next 2 transfer windows, at most. We might even go out and get one in January. At least that's what some sources are saying. If the opportunity is right, we might pay Torino a few million to get Belotti in early. And then you give
That's
him
kind of what I was
of,
thinking.
I would like that, or even if they wanted to come to the table and say, okay, let us keep Pobega and we'll let you have Belotti plus a bit of cash, then maybe something like that could work. Because
I think what you do is you lock up the pre-contract immediately in January, get that signed, sealed, delivered. Now you go to Torino. Look, he's already our player. If you want something, we'll give you a little bit. And you just give him to us now.
Yeah.
You know, maybe even, well, I guess Pellegrini he's owned by Monaco, huh? Yeah, never mind. I was going to say, see if we could talk to Monaco and be like, here, take him instead, you know.
Well, you could do some kind of three-way deal where, like, they agree to loan Pellegrini to Torino, so they've got that replacement or something. I mean, I know this is total fantasy football, like Football Manager, FIFA, whatever, but I would love us to say, you really like Pobega, you know, you can keep hold of him. We'll give you a little bit of cash. You give us Belotti and Bremer, who has been a really good centre-back for Torino over the last couple of seasons. And then I think that would be a power move in terms of putting the pressure on Romagnoli to say, look, renew, or our replacement's already here. And then if Romagnoli ends up renewing, then you can start to look at you know, loaning out Gabbia or loaning out whatever it may be, but strengthen the squad wherever possible, be proactive wherever possible. The thing with Belotti is that he offers guarantees. You know, he's played over 30 games in each of the last 6 full seasons, scored double digits in goals in each of the last 6 seasons, and has added a few assists in there as well. And we know what he brings. As you say, he's always going to give 110%. I know it's cliche, but he's literally a boyhood fan of the club, and I think would move in a heartbeat. But from his playing style point of view, to me, seems like a good fit as well, because he's more of a mobile centre forward, but you can play that one up front role well because he's stocky, he puts his weight about, you know. But then he's also a predator because he gets into the right positions to score. And yeah, he's a captain as well. He's been Torino's captain, so there's another leader to throw in there as well. And let's be totally honest about it. Torino have been shit in most of the seasons that he's been there, and he's still put them on his back and basically secured their survival every season, apart from that Europa League season after the 2016-17 campaign that he had, 26 goals. As for Vlahovic, I mean, there isn't much to say at the moment because I don't class us as one of the front runners to land him, and I'd love to be more optimistic on it, but I just think that it's the way this has panned out has almost worked against us because other clubs know that he wants to go. They might be able to put forward a more attractive package than what we're able to do at the moment, because I think we're relying on seeing how we do this season before we go and spend a big amount, and other teams will be moving in advance of that. You talk about Spurs, who were already probably planning for Harry Kane's departure. Juve need a 9, and people say, look at their accounts, where they're getting the money from. They always find a way to get the money. They were creative with the Chiesa deal. They could potentially do the same again, like they did with Locatelli. We thought they had no money, and they found a way to get the guy that they wanted. They're annoying like that. And then there's like Atletico Madrid, who've got Suarez in their ranks, but like how long is he going to be sort of able to contribute what he has been? So I think there you've got 3 teams that are already better placed than what we are. I'd love to see it happen. And perhaps Ibra can have a word with him and say, trust me, this is the right next step for you. To stay in Serie A where you can score goals. I'll teach you everything that I know. By the time I'm gone, you'll be ready to take the baton, and then you'll be able to learn from Giroud as well. That's a pretty convincing argument, but I just don't know if we can put together the financial package. And Rocco Commisso's put Fiorentina in a position where they can choose the highest bidder.
Yeah, absolutely. They absolutely can. I just wonder what that amount will be. Who's really bidding? Because you mentioned a lot of clubs there, but you're looking at a figure between 50 to 70 million for Vlahovic. I don't think Juve can find a way to put that together in today's market. I just don't think they have the capacity to do it. I think Atletico can, but they have Suarez. They just got Griezmann back. They have other strikers as well. I don't think they really need a forward. Paratici at Tottenham just came out like yesterday, the day prior, and mentioned Vlahovic by name and said, we don't need another striker. We're very happy with Harry Kane, and he's going to be the center of our rebuild going forward. So I mean, yeah,
Harry
he could
Kane's
go
not
to.
happy with Spurs, so I
Yeah,
think
he's not
that's
happy.
a two-way
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah. But the reality is, like, I think we may be the highest bidder because we might be the only bidder. The other clubs that could afford that, unless it's Newcastle, they just had their big takeover. But I saw
yeah.
Icardi rumors already, so who knows? I mean, they're going to go for a big striker soon. That might be competition for us. But then it's like, do you really want to play for Newcastle? Like, yeah, they got this unknown project coming up, but let's be real. There's FFP. They're not going to. It's not like when City or PSG took over. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 seasons before they're doing anything, and that's if they make successful moves. If everything they do turns out, and it's not like the Premier League is set in stone. I mean, you're always going to have City, Liverpool, United up top, but it's very hard to break into that big six, that big seven. So it's possible, but it'll take them a while. Whereas we're ready-made. We're in Champions League, so
yeah. And I think if a team like Newcastle were to become a serious contender, it would be based on the wage package that they can put together, because they don't have anything to offer in the immediate. It's just, this is where we're going to be. Sign up for it now. But no, that's an interesting one. I think there'll be other names that come out as well. Interestingly, obviously perhaps, it's been more our strategy to shop for value when it comes to young players. I don't think Vlahovic necessarily represents outstanding value. As you say, it's clear now that he wants to leave, and yet he's probably still going to command a fee of over 50 million. And that's why I'm not surprised to see names like Darwin Núñez come up from Benfica. He's having a great season. He scored twice against Barcelona in the Champions League. Adeyemi, there was a guy at Salzburg as well who came up. So I'm not surprised to see other names linked to perhaps that level below in terms of being an interesting prospect, but will perhaps come on a lower wage, for example.
What did we spend total this summer window?
70 million, give or take $1 million.
Go.
So maybe
you look
maybe
at
that's
what do we need for next season? I mean, we already have Adley coming in, and he's been on a tear. So there's our midfield backup or replacement there. You need another striker. You're getting 2 big names off the wage bill, potentially. I mean, that's it. Belotti on a free, so you're looking at wages there, and then Vlahovic is the only main transfer.
You've got Conte and Samu who will have left to free up some wages. Conte's wages, we know now, is pretty high. But then other things can pop up, though. So let's say Romagnoli doesn't re-sign. We will need to buy another centre-back who offers similar guarantees. Otherwise, we've weakened in that position. And then you look at the attack. Messias at the moment, I think it would be fair to say he's probably not guaranteed to be staying into next season. So will we need a new playmaker and the right winger? Do we need investment there?
But then you look at we're now getting match day revenue as well. So, if we cut 100 million off our deficit last season without that, and then I don't remember the numbers, but it was pretty damn close to that is what they predict we could get this season. So plus Champions League money if we make it out of the group stages, I don't see why we can't spend the same amount, if not more, next summer.
Yeah, I think a lot depends on how we do this season, because I think if we do end up winning the title, let's say, or we win a trophy, Pioli will sort of be saying, you've got to back me to make this next big signing. Because I've proven that I can get you into this position to compete for trophies. You've just got to trust me. I need this player. He carries a lot more leverage then in that situation. Speaking of which, Lorenzo Raffini, check out some of his features on our website under the features section. He messaged me to ask this: how much has Pioli improved tactically? Do we need to continue thinking about levelling up our coach, or is Pioli the real deal for the future? Now, Pioli's contract runs out at the end of the season, but we have a club option to extend it until June 2023. Which it sounds more and more like we are going to look at exercising. But he brings up an interesting point. Have we stopped thinking about him as an intermediary coach, and then we need that leap to an elite coach? Is he the guy for years to come, or maybe just the next couple of years?
Well, this is his 3rd season. He's no longer an intermediary coach, and it's impossible to say that at this point. If he just stayed that first season when he took over from Jim Paulo, then you could say, intermediary. If he stayed just that season and last season, intermediary. But this is 3 seasons. In Serie A, that's pretty rare. Yeah, and he's getting better. He's getting the results. So if we, like you said just now, if we win the title or win a trophy or get Champions League again, I mean, he is our guy. Now, I don't think he's the manager that's going to win us the Champions League. But then you got to look at what are the club's ambitions? Realistically, how far off are we from winning the Champions League? When do we need to make that big move to an Antonio Conte, to a Guardiola? And I'm not saying those names are realistic or even going to happen ever, but that caliber, and I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon. I think we're still being very budget friendly. A lot of that depends on like a new ownership taking over that want to go for it. But I think we'll definitely exercise that option if we continue well, because that's one more year at the same wage. It doesn't get a pay increase. So why don't you do 4 years? And then from there, you could talk about a 2-year extension or something if results hold again.
Yeah, I think you'd struggle now, and it perhaps wasn't the case when we had our dip in form second half of last season, but I think you'd struggle now to find somebody who would argue against the idea that Pioli's the perfect coach for us right now. He took over in a really difficult moment. He improved the team psychologically, first of all, and then tactically, I think he is improving, as Lorenzo mentions. He's improving the team overall, making us really, really attractive to watch, but also he's improved individuals within that. We've seen that, look at the patience that he's shown a lot of the players that are now our key players. And you just can't argue against his track record, against his points per game, the results that he's pulled out in crucial moments. And I think it's very much still a process. He's still learning and growing. So perfect manager for right now, but then the next question has to be, what is the end goal for all this? As Chuck agrees there. What is the end goal for all of this? Do we want a manager to come in at some point in the next 3 to 5 years who is going to make us a Champions League contender? Could Pioli develop into that manager? It's not beyond the realms of possibility. There are always some managers that kind of take a team to the final out of nowhere. You look at Pochettino, everyone regarded him as a good coach, but really he grew with that Spurs team and took them to a Champions League final. Why can't that happen for us? Yeah. But also, as you mentioned, you look at a Conte, you look at a Guardiola, the managers that might become available in and around the time that we might look to upgrade. They want big investment in the playing squad, no matter how well it looks built. Guardiola always wants his guys. Conte wants his teams build in a certain way. And if Elliott is still in charge, I don't think that's the kind of profile that they would be looking for, to be honest. So no, it's an interesting one, and I think all we can say is perfect coach for right now, and let's hope that doesn't change for a while. There'll probably be periods where we struggle, in the next couple of years, because that's natural, that's football. If there are no periods where we struggle in the next couple of years, it means we probably won everything there is to win. So there will be times where this question will become more serious, but let's just enjoy it, Yeah. And then on the automatic extension thing, the only thing that I would say, it is obvious to trigger it, definitely. It gives us that extra year of security. But we've actually seen that Pioli is only like the 7th highest paid coach in Serie A. So do you sort of reward him for his work by, instead of saying we're going to use that option, we're going to give you a bit of a pay rise as well and extend your deal by a couple of years, just to give him that confidence to keep at it. But I don't think there'll be any problems with it. His agent came out earlier today and said we're talking all the time about it, and he hopes that the parties will continue together. Yeah. So I don't think there'll be a problem when it comes.
I mean, he's never done better at another club than here.
No, that's true.
He absolutely wants to stay. This is making his career legitimately. It's the best he's ever done. It's the best he might ever do. We don't know what happens after he leaves and has to restart a new project. So yeah, I think he would love that raise, but I think he'd be just as happy for the extension.
Yeah, agree. Rossonieri, Swedish podcast, asks, what are your thoughts about all of our injuries? We mentioned it a little bit, but I guess this is the old narrative that seems to be cropping up again. Why didn't we clear out our medical staff over the summer based on how bad last season was? I think they were given the benefit of the doubt based on how intense the fixture list was after a shortened pre-season, which happened between the two seasons. Our intense style of play. In fact, we've got a lot of young players in there who have more fragile muscles when they're not used to having played at that level of intensity. But then also the flip side of the spectrum is we have players who are like in their mid-30s, and obviously Zlatan, who we expect him to get injured. So I think there was a bit of benefit of the doubt. But we're in a position now where it seems like we're never injury-free, and just as we get to a position where we nearly have a clean bill of health, 2 or 3 players go down at once. Messias has been injured at Milanello, but like Maldini's been injured on international duty. Calabria withdrew from the national team, picked up an injury on international duty. So I think it just goes to show that it can happen anytime, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned on the pod before that there are guys who can come in from a medical point of view and make an actual big difference. You know, the guy that Conte brought with him to Inter, Pintus, he's regarded as the best in the world at what he does, you know, as the head physio. And they were not missing many of their key players at all last season, not for long stretches anyway, like we did. And that might be arguably why they went on and won the Scudetto. So there can be value added by going out and getting a guy who has big influence like that. But I don't know what there is to say on it, you know?
Yeah.
They just have to deal with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, just do better, I guess. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's frustrating. There's no reason that we should be, after the international break, players that didn't play are getting hurt. It's like, I mean, we saw videos of Tomori exercising in the offseason to stay in shape, and his lifting form was god-awful. It was prone to get injury. Luckily, he's not one of the players who has got injured. But, I mean, you see some of the shit that they're doing. You look at that old video of Real Madrid in their locker room, and they're all about to break their knees, hyperextending it, and it's just like, I don't know. There's so many knowledgeable people in sports fitness. It blows my mind to see professional athletes at the top highest level of any sport doing the things that I see them doing in like officially released videos that they're like bragging about. Like, look at us, you know, like, why are no one should be proud of this. Like, you know, you could get Joe Schmo at the local LA Fitness who's going to know a lot more and do a lot better. Like, I don't know. It's interesting that there's not. And then you look at teams like Bayern, they're all putting on muscle. They're not getting hurt. They're doing things correctly. It's like, there's something that works, and then you look at us and here's something that doesn't work. So let's emulate that. Let's just straight up ask them, what do you guys do different? Like, find something.
Or buy them.
Or buy them.
Poach them. Like, go and say, Red Bull Salzburg, you guys play a similar way to us, albeit with not as good players. Your fitness team, how much do you want from? You know, and then just, you know, they seem to be doing pretty well with it. Same with Leipzig. What was it now? I need to find it. Just give me a second. But our athletic coach came out and said something that I found interesting during the midweek. He gave an interview to like Gazzetta dello Sport, and he talked about the sort of cornerstones of what they do in training and stuff like that. And then he said, this is why we aim to involve as much as possible, even those who play less. It's not uncommon to see players at work even an hour after the training session is over. So maybe like we should not do that. Maybe like when training's over, we should let them go home and not stay for an hour after the session doing whatever it is that they weren't asked to do.
Well, and that's
like,
the thing too. If they're saying
reason.
It's uncommon for players to leave when it's over, they all stay an extra hour, then it's not over. Then it's an hour longer. The training hasn't ended. Like, and maybe that extra hour is optional and everyone's just staying because, you know, motivation or whatever. But if everyone's getting hurt, maybe we cut back a little bit. You know, there's something to be said about taking a break. Your body needs it. And that's what the international break's so fantastic for the players that don't get called up, is they get that rest. And yet somehow Macias, who just came back from injury, gets injured during the rest. So it's like, whatever you're doing isn't
when
right.
You put it like that, he got injured during his days off.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And accidents happen, you know, like you hear horror stories of boxers slipping on a bucket of ice in the locker room pre-fight and knock themselves out and they can't fight. They're hurt. That happens. Like crazy shit happens in life, but crazy shit happens in our life every week, it seems like, and it's not okay. Like, something's got to give.
It's muscle injuries. That's the thing that people are annoyed about. If you take a knock, if you like break your arm or something, there's an element of bad luck about that. But when it's muscle injury after muscle injury, particularly thigh and calf, then you start to think, is this a conditioning thing? Because like if these players are staying an hour afterwards, and every time they do that, it's knocking 2% off their condition. Let's say that adds up over a period, and eventually it'll knock you under the line.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like especially with muscle fatigue injuries. The more you work out, the more tired your muscles are going to be. You need that break. You need that time off. So let's stop staying an hour after practice. We already had the winter mentality, so let's just win with what we're scheduled to do. Do that. Take your time off. Take your ice baths. I don't know what to do in that. Make sure you're eating your veggies.
Cryotherapy is the new thing, which is
cryotherapy. It's expensive and ridiculous, but it definitely works. Ice baths are a lot cheaper. You saw Napoli doing it in dumpsters. People made fun of it, but it's cost effective and it works. So I recommend that. But
I got a picture with Andrea Pioli while he was in one of those dustbins filled with ice.
There you go.
That was when he was at Bologna, I think, and they played Huddersfield in pre-season. I'll move on. Try to keep this under an hour, shall we? Luis Bahia asks, priority number 1, Theo needs to be extended this season. If he's going to start being a regular in the French national team, his value is going to skyrocket. I agree with that. I think we all do.
Yeah.
Let's try to go ahead of time. I did a feature, which you find under Devil's Advocate, about why we just need to change strategy on renewals. Let's get there ahead of time and make players feel valued as they are, and then we avoid situations like the case.
How many years does he have left? 2 or 3?
2024 he signed until, so he's entered his final 3 years, if that makes sense. So be proactive, but it's not just the contract length; it's the fact that he's paid $1.5 million and he's one of the best in his position in the world. Just go to him and say, "Here's your salary tripled, and let's add another couple of years on," and he's probably happy with that. And
the interesting thing about fullbacks in today's game is it's such a rare position to have a great player in, and now they're becoming such focal points of teams. Before they were just kind of like there, but now they're so critical, and there's not a lot of them. So you're seeing them going for prices that only strikers used to go for. You're seeing, Hakimi going for 80 million, 60 million. You're seeing Joao Cancelo doing the same thing. Taylor Hernandez is worth every bit of that as well, and eventually a team's going to come in and offer 70, 80, 90 million, whatever it be. It's going to be hard to say no for both us and him,
Yeah, I was going to ask as a second part of the question, if you're in Maldini's position, what is the number that you go to the negotiating table?
I don't know. It's tough. He's on 1.5 now, so I'd go
from an offer. If someone bid, though, like 8, do you think he's an 80 million player? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I actually wrote something up just before jumping on here, saying that that's our value. We won't even pick up the phone unless it's 80 million. Everyone keeps saying PSG, but they signed Nuno Mendes from Sporting Lisbon.
Well, they wanted him.
Yeah, definitely. Tried. I think they got told no. And it sounds like a lot of the news is encouraging that Theo loves it here and wants to stay. And now he's broken into the French team. He's not thinking, I need to go to PSG to get that. So that's all good. Final question then, Rocky Ward. Is it worth waiting to integrate Messias, or should we send him back to Crotone, take an L on the loan fee, and go all in for further in January? There is a couple of reliable sources now reporting that we are definitely going to sign an attacking midfielder in the January transfer window. It might be a profile from Belgium, like Jari Verscheren from Anderlecht, or Noah Lang, who I really like, but he's more of a winger. There's even been a couple of guys from Red Bull Salzburg who've been linked. De Catelaire from Club Bruges as well. Roman Further continues to be linked. A lot of whispers about us signing a new attacking midfielder. But I think we don't have to make a call yet on Messias, because I think he could also play the backup right winger role, or even start some games in the right wing position. So we don't have to do that yet. If anything, we'd be removing a body from the squad by doing that. So I wouldn't do that. But of course, as the weeks go on and he's only played a handful of minutes, it becomes more and more difficult to convince us to pay the full amount to sign him outright.
Yeah, I mean, you got him on loan for a year. Whether we know already if we're going to redeem that or not, you still keep him for the full year. It's a body in the squad, and you still make that move in January because it sounds like we're going to. I mean, we were still trying to sign Roman Ferver anyways when we had him. It just fell through because of some, I think his behavior is from what I heard. So, I mean, if we could get that in January, then we're just at what we thought we were going to have in July. So I don't see why we'd want to send him home early. You know, I mean, he's hurt. You can't borrow a kid, injure him, and then send him back. Like, you know, that helps no one. So, well, maybe he'd have better fitness there actually, but
probably.
Yeah, I'd say keep him and still make your move in January. I mean, no one thinks he's a starter, so
yeah. And I think Brahim Diaz, we can now afford to perhaps be a bit more speculative in who we sign in January. If it is someone who's young, you know, Kjær at Anderlecht looks really good from what I gather. But it would be a Salamakers type gamble, you know, where we probably pay 10 mil or less for him, but he can come in and be the backup to Brahim because we now know Brahim's up to it. You know, he can play that role. Whereas over the summer, there was some doubts about whether we needed a bona fide starting number 10 because we thought Brahim might not be up to it. So perhaps it changes the levels a little bit on that. But I would still like Roman further. He's gone there and I think since he's been back into the fold, he's already got 2 goals and 3 assists or something like that. So he's clearly got his head screwed back on. Brest are looking like getting relegated, which helps us again. And also, he made it clear he wants the move. So we can maybe even get a little discount in January once the anger's subsided over how he behaved in the summer. So I think that's the obvious move at the moment. But as we've said, things change all the time. I think that's it. That's it.
I'm good. Yeah.
All good with the questions and that. Thank you to everybody who submitted the questions. And we'll answer ones that we didn't get to next week. But yeah, in the meantime, I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. It's on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. AJ?
Yeah, been a blast. I won't be here next week. I'll be on vacation. I believe Madison will be back. John might even be back.
John, I think, should be back for next week's. And then,
And so, yeah, we might see some old familiar faces. You definitely won't see me, so I'll be breaking my streak again, but that's okay. Torgid45 on Twitter.
Yeah, and make sure to keep checking out the website for all the latest news and features and stuff like that. Follow us on all social media, like, comment, subscribe. I think that's pretty much everything. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you in a week's time.
Eccolo Ante in area di rigore, Ante, Ibra, gol! Vediamo se è buono, ce lo dà buono.